Hello, everybody. Today, I have kind of an off the beaten path. I don't want to call it a treat because it's really not a treat. We're talking about renting in DC, Maryland, Virginia, the DMV as they call it. And that's not the Department of Motor Vehicles. Somehow the nation's capital has gotten the moniker of the DMV and it has stuck. I think it's the weirdest thing ever, but you know, who am I to say? All right, today we are going to talk about the frequently asked questions of finding a rental in DC. When people are moving here, a lot of times people will contact me and say, well, I want to rent first because I don't want to just move there and buy something. Good, this is very good. Problem sort of comes in with the fact that I don't actually handle rentals. It's just not my wheelhouse. It's not my thing. There's just so many people who are trying to buy that it's hard to sort of pivot from that and do rentals. But people ask these questions and I feel like I've kind of given people the same sort of information. So I wanted to go through this and just go through some frequently asked questions. So I'm Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. This is the channel. Contact info is going to be here. And, you know, of course, you can subscribe and do all that fun stuff. Let's get into this. So the first question that I get from people is, all right, I'm moving there and I want to rent. How do I find a rental? All right, well, this is weird here. You've got a couple different markets, so to speak, for rentals. The first place is just an apartment complex, right? Like they're apartments, it might be a high rise, it might be garden style where you can drive up and park your car out front, or it might be high rise where you're going underneath in a garage, or it might have a surface lot. Regardless, you go in, there's a leasing office, you say, I want to rent an apartment. They say, here's what we have available for the time period you want, and you're done. That's pretty easy. Where it comes into a little bit of confusion for people is there's individual owners who own a condo. They might own a 1 or 2 bedroom condo. They might own a townhouse. They might own a house. And sometimes those people also want to rent out their property too. Finding those is a little bit not straightforward like it is for a leasing office in an apartment complex, because some of those property owners may choose to hire realtors, and then at that point you would see the realtor putting it on the MLS. Some of them may post on Zillow. Some of them will post on other websites. For the most part, what we have found in this area is that the website HotPads currently is like the best place to typically go and look for rentals. If people post it to Zillow or another site, it often syndicates to HotPads, and then HotPads can syndicate it out to like dozens and dozens of other rental sites. So who pays the rental agent? Well, there we go. This is always a question. If you find a rental on your own that's not listed with an agent, you are typically working directly with the owner. So let's say they posted it on Zillow and you contacted them directly. You're just going to be working directly with them, and that's that. You have to sort of advocate for yourself there, but that's that situation. If you find a rental through us, there's often compensation provided from the landlord. It's different in different jurisdictions. Our policy is to receive 50% of the rent. Most rentals in DC and some in Maryland, you'll often see something close to that, like 45 or 50%. Virginia's a different animal. Sometimes we see 25%, 10% in Virginia. And so we will request that we get half of 1 month's rent as the rental compensation. We will typically let you know as well what's offered on each property so that you know walking into this if you're going to need to make up a difference or not. Next question. How early do I need to start looking for a rental? So you don't want to look too early. You basically want to be 60 days out max. And that's because most landlords are looking for a start date of maybe the 1st or the 15th of the month if the property is vacant. And typically a lot of leases here are going to have sometimes a 30-day notice, but most often there's a 60-day notice written into it. If it is already tenant occupied, somebody's currently living there, the start date of the lease that they are requesting is going to be noted in the listing. Next question. What money is due at lease signing? Very good question. So how much money will you have to put down? This can also vary, but here's what you should, for the most part, be prepared for. If you are renting with a leasing office, their deposit might be $400 or $500 plus a deposit maybe for an elevator and a move deposit and things like that. They're all going to vary. I don't work for the rental management companies there, so it's hard for me to tell you exactly what that's going to look like. What I can more speak to is what's common when somebody hires the real estate agent to help them market their property. What you're typically going to see is they're going to ask for the first month's rent, 1 month security deposit, any prorated rent that if you're moving in mid-month or something like that, any pet deposits that they may request, and any building move-in fees. So let's say that you're moving into a high-rise building that has an elevator and you're moving in on January 1st and you found this place mid-December. Well, you may have to send the landlord 1 month security deposit to hold the place. You also send 1 month of the first month's rent. You won't have any prorated rent because you're starting January 1st, so you're paying January. And then typically the building move-in fees can be paid like early, but you also may pay them on site at the time of move-in, right? They may hand you an elevator key and then take a deposit for the key. There might be some portion of the deposit that's non-refundable. They may have you write 2 checks for it. Just kind of know that that's coming. All right, next section. Let's talk about price. So can you negotiate price with the landlord? Can you get a discount for multi-year leases? No. Please don't even ask. Sorry. If you ask me, I will of course ask the landlord. I have done this for several clients, and what the answer always comes back is no, because I'll move to the next application in line. Here's what you need to know. DC is like a revolving door. People come, people go, people come, people go. That means rentals are always, always, always in demand. So maybe if you sign a 2 or a 3-year lease, maybe you would get a $50 discount per month. But even then, a lot of times they don't have to do that. We are actually, believe it or not, seeing rentals with escalation clauses. I know, this is crazy. The last rental I listed had multiple applications. People were just filling it out online and sending it in. I couldn't even stop them from spending the application fee. And they were like, it's well worth it if we're second or third in line. So look, that's what you got to deal with. All right, next, what can you get for your money here? All right, so first things first. If you're moving from California or New York, you're gonna think this is a dream. You're gonna walk in and see a place that has more storage, more space, more closets, a balcony, and you're gonna be like, sold. I will rent, I will sign there. If you're moving from anywhere else, I'm sorry, you're actually gonna think that it's expensive here, and it is. You wouldn't be wrong about that. It is expensive. Single family homes can run you approximately $3,500 to $6,000, just regardless of where the area is or, whatever. It's going to at least be $3,500 to $4,000. A 1-bedroom, you can find them for like $1,700, $1,800, $1,900, but mostly everything close to the city is around the $2,000 and up mark. If you want to be walkable to Metro, there's going to be a premium attached to your rent. Just know that. All right, so when should you go to a leasing office? All right, well, few things. Generally, if your credit isn't the best, so think less than 650. Sometimes they're a little bit more flexible with being able to actually get you into a place. If your income is less than 40 times the monthly rent, so rent's $1,000, you need to make $40,000 a year. Rent's $2,000, guess what? You have to make $80,000 a year. That's typically what the barometer is going to be for people who work with a real estate agent to rent their individual homes. That's kind of what we all sort of recommend to work off of, and what the background check and the credit check and all that is going to also put out there as the barometer. Sometimes the leasing offices can make adjustments for that or take a larger deposit. Maybe you don't need a lot of space. You just need a 1 or a 2 bedroom. You don't really need a house. You don't, need anything giant. Or you like a neighborhood that the apartment building happens to reside in. Maybe the apartment building has amenities that you can't find anywhere else, like a pool, tennis courts. Then you can go to a leasing office and go that way. Next step is process. Application fees. So application fees are going to vary. Basically, think about it as anywhere from $35 per person if you're lucky to $100 per person. Everyone over the age of 18 must apply and be on the lease regardless of, actually they don't have to be on the lease, but regardless if they're on the lease or not, they actually have to apply 18 and over, because they will background check, credit check, things like that. A little bit more about the process. Landlords are typically going to want at least a year lease unless they specifically advertise being short-term friendly. Many condos are not going to allow for short-term. A lot of them have a 6-month minimum. Many have a 12-month minimum. There's no Airbnbs. There's no short-term rentals in a lot of these places. So just kind of something to know. So this area, some people feel like this area isn't like hyper pet friendly. There are a lot of animals here. There's a lot of dogs. You will see dogs outside at cafes. When it comes to rentals, it's really hard. I've had dogs for most of my adult life, and I've, considered moving to other places and thought I wouldn't even bother renting here because by the time I'm done paying all these rental fees and deposits, I may as well just buy something. I know that sounds completely insane, but when you start adding it up, it really is astonishing. At your move-in inspection, take photos. You want to take photos of anything that might remotely look like damage that you may get blamed for on the way out, that they may pull from your deposit for. And properties move fast, so if you see something that you like, you actually need to be prepared to go within a day or two because things do move very quickly. So finally, let's talk a little bit about showings. It's really important to rule things out when you're looking online. Definitely rule out based on location, based on size, based on amenities, things like if you see that a place has carpet and you are thinking, I like that place, I like everything about it, but I want the carpet to be removed because I have asthma or allergies, don't go see that place. The landlord's not gonna do this for you. Like I said, they don't have to. They have like a nonstop revolving door of people that wanna rent their place. You are unlikely to get major renovations. If you wanna paint, you may be able to ask the landlord if they'll do that, or you might be able to do it yourself, but it's going to be at your own cost. And if you paint anything that's like not white or a neutral that the landlord owner can live with, they may ask you to paint it back to what it was before you moved in. So how many showings should you go on and how many rentals should you see? Well, again, keep in mind that the market moves pretty quickly. If you've ruled everything out and you have like a very tight list of things that you want to see, I'd tell you to go out, see 5 and make a decision. That's it. This isn't like a never-ending story where you just keep going out like as if you're buying week after week. You kind of have to just find like what's closest to the best fit and jump into it before somebody else snags it. If you've looked at 10 to 15 rentals in person and you seem to not be able to find what you're looking for, it's probably time to revise your search parameters to figure out what maybe isn't working with your property search and maybe what you're looking for just isn't out there. So I hope that was helpful. I have a lot of people, like I said, who ask me questions about rentals. So I wanted to put together the main questions that people ask. If you have any other questions about anything, please let me know. My contact info is going to come next. I am Melissa Terzis and happy to help. Thanks so much.